about 1983 approximately, my funeral home was approached by Bill Atkinson of Midwest City, who was one of the chief primary developers of the Quail Springs Mall area, and he had approached us about this cemetery near Northwest 150th and May, where we're at today, about possibly moving it so that he could develop the land for future commercial development, which we did some very preliminary work on that. But then the real estate market kind of took a downturn a few years later, and so they abandoned the idea of moving the cemetery just because it was so costly. But several curious developments that happened over the years. Bill Hediger, who has many family members buried here, buried his father here in 1999. And he thought that it was okay for him to do that, as his family had taken care of it and started it, and many other family members buried here.
Yeah, I can remember when I was a kid, I used to come out here with my granddad to mow, and he used to mow this whole thing with a push mower. And a lot of times there was pasture all around it, and cows would break the fence down and come in and turn the tombstones over, and we'd spend a half a day putting the tombstones back up. But it's changed a bunch. But I used to enjoy coming out here with him and helping him best I could, and I was pretty small then. My great-grandfather, Jacob Hediger, was a Lutheran minister, and he left Nebraska to come down here to start this cemetery, and he's going to build a church on the east side. But it never really materialized that far, and I think his health got bad, but him and his mother's buried here, and then my grandfather and his wife, grandmother's here, my dad's here, my baby brother's here.
But much to his surprise, the ownership group at that time, which was now Quail Springs Office Park, sent a letter to all parties involved in the burial that there was to be no future burials at the cemetery. And so after that, we began to do more investigation into the legal work of the cemetery, and over the years I had talked to several people associated with the ownership group of the cemetery, and I had encouraged them to abandon completely the idea of moving it and to just section the cemetery off into its own parcel. Well, there is a historical element to these old cemeteries, but these are family members' loved ones, and they don't want to see the graves disturbed. Many of the family members, like Bill Hediger, have invested much of their time and money in maintaining the cemetery.
Well, I filled in some of the low places that for settlement and put dirt in, and I just keep it mowed every year. My granddad mowed it till he couldn't mow it anymore. Then my dad took it over till he couldn't mow it anymore. And now I'm doing it, and I imagine my son will take my place.
And when you go to disturbing them or moving them or doing a construction project around it, family members are going to get real curious and want to know what's going on, and they're going to get involved to make sure that things are not done improperly. And it appears to me, we have some surveying done, that some of the original right-of-way for this area encroached into the fenced areas here. So it appears from being out here that the city is, working to the north to not disturb the cemetery at all. And if they're going to, improve the area with sidewalks and better street, then it should make access to the cemetery better.
Well, I like it mostly because it's so peaceful, and it's of course it's getting a lot more traffic than we used to have, but it used to be in the country, and now they're 4-laning the road in front of it here. But I just, of course, I've got relatives here, and that's the reason
I visit.
Yes, and that's the reason I wanted to keep it up and keep it mowed and keep it looking good.